Our social taboo, our mental health. In our 74 years of defining ourselves as a nation and in struggling to run abreast with the multidimensional dynamics of the modern world, our psychosocial capacity has greatly been overlooked and thus suffers only to birth another national challenge amidst so many else which already exist, the mental health challenge. Pakistan is heir to a rich historical heritage with major features being of high fertility rate, a large youth population bracket, predominant rural population, and a poor economy. Imagine having a population bloom and accumulating human capital predominantly unawarding to its state's capacity, and that too in an already stressed economy. It is no surprise that an individual's growth severs in such an environment where access inequality induces an overall negative outlook towards life. When this happens, feelings of helplessness, selfishness, and failing expectations breed. Mental health complications which hold potential to spread huge measures of both length and breadth across a nation. One logical theory behind growing unsatisfaction with age, which we all can relate, is that we remember our childhood being happy. And through the years, our grown up, still growing stages are more frequently confronted with unappreciation, unsolicited mocks in guise of advices, unimportance, so on and so forth. The feelings of insecurity and being judged for no apparent reason may help us grow stronger, but the underside of the outer strength, which is composed mainly of depression, anxiety, mood disorders, and behavioral implications, are kept unresolved. And as the external dynamics are unexpected in majority occurrences, too much negative pressure can flip the underside up, where lunacy and unfortunate events of suicide may surface. Now, of course, some psychiatric disorders such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, ADHD, autism, and major depression, etc., might have potential genetic roots, but that accounts for only 17 to 28% of all the risk occurrences of genetically passed on lunacy. Nearly 35% Pakistanis suffer from some form of mental illness of the magnitude which requires professional psychological help. As reported by Pakistan Association of Mental Health, around 13,000 people commit suicide every year in the country, and out of them, 95% of these cases are due to mental disorders alone. In our country, a country chained down in a complex stream of stability issues, our mental health stressors can be categorized under four major factors, namely political, cultural and traditional, personal, and other or miscellaneous factors. Now, inconsistency in the political climate or persistent political unrest impacts the citizens as it stirs a weather of disturbance, and politics in general leads people to hate other people on accounts of contrasting interests and ideas. Moreover, some policy leaps which might make sense for the policymakers may cause drastic and unfavorable changes for those who are being governed, leaving most of them puzzled, baffled, and worse, traumatized, equating to a sense of being manipulated. Culturally and traditionally, some questionable beliefs often violate basic human rights. Our social culture has taken up the habit of reducing the sufferance of a sufferer to a mere joke. With no rational thought behind our ignorance or unheeding behavior towards the sufferer in our vicinity, or worse, highlighting and magnifying what isn't seemingly normal, pinches the already struggling, pushing them to go more and more inwards and more closer to their darkness and hopelessness. Therefore, being treated as a taboo, lack of ample communication, and lack of acceptance towards each other's oddity induces either rebellious or an indifferent and distant attitude capable of self harm or projecting harm around them. Moving on, personal factors highly overlap with cultural and traditional, but then again, self decision regarding what kind of exposure we welcome, how much self control do we choose to compromise, and of course, the star crossed genetic inheritance. But most importantly, our personal will and choice as to what to make out of an incidence of pure misfortune. Do we limit ourselves to our deplorable conditioning or choose to convert it into better outcomes? Now, as far as others or miscellaneous factors are involved, these include the access to safe havens, I may call them. In other words, mental health facilities for the masses. Most important is to measure the quality of these facilities being provided. What is demanded of us is to realize that the pressurizing of lack of facility or medical gear or incompetency will not solve the problem alone. Although political and health sectors' attention to the issue, more specifically, their commitment to give succor to populations drowning in a growing madness will always prove to be a stronger change maker than individual effort alone, but changes or centrally deployed public management is always a slow process. Now, as time is short in face of fast spreading depression and likewise mental health challenges, a top down approach cannot really be enough to rely upon. For the contemporary situation, an individual and thence a community level effort may prove to be the best approach when synergized with governmental interventions. Mental illnesses are basically a cry for help. We need to evolve kinder than we have already learned to be, unlearn whatever toxicity we can, and put an end to stigmatizing mental health sufferers. Make space for diversity, convince ourselves first to heed to the cause, and then lead others with example. And it's not that difficult. You only need to lend an ear and be open to new perspectives. We need to maybe meditate and grow better. Block negativity as much as possible, or develop a sense of personal responsibility, which is very important, of the mark that we leave on someone else's mental state. And be very vocal about our needs and issues, and reach out for help whenever we need to. And if you feel like someone might be struggling, and frankly everyone is, just be kind. Help someone strengthen their faith by bringing hope back. No wonder the guidance has always been there, because believe is all that matters. Believe that we are better than whatever may drag us down.